In an exclusive interview with Weasel News, newly appointed Magistrate Leonard Walker with the Courts of San Andreas Central Local Court has agreed to have a conversation with us about his hopes and his vision for the Courts of San Andreas. So thank you, Magistrate, for joining us.
No worries. Good evening.
Good evening, good evening. So first of all, I may know you, but a lot of our viewers may not. Can you please tell us a little bit more about yourself so our viewers can start to understand where you come from, your history and stuff like that?
Yeah, sure. Happy to go over that again. So, my name is Magistrate Walker, newly appointed here to the San Andreas court system. I grew up in Davis, in San Andreas, born and bred. My father ran a small auto body workshop for a number of years until he eventually transitioned into electrical engineering for a large firm. We were able to actually work our way up, my family and I work our way up to the Vinewood Hills area, which was quite a nice experience, I have to say. Unfortunately, the economic downturn of 2008 meant that we got unfortunately pushed all the way back to Davis, where thankfully I had become of age to join the San Andreas Police Force. It's actually a big reason why we're here in the Mission Row office today. This is where I got my start as a fledgling young constable. I was out there on the streets, walking the beat, and I saw obviously the nitty gritty of San Andreas, for better and for worse. And I feel like that's given me quite a unique perspective in moving forward and going into the court system on a more judicial level.
Oh, very, very interesting. So you said you joined the San Andreas Police Force. Can you tell us a little bit more about that and your experience within that organization and how that shaped where you are today?
Yeah, sure. Like I said, I joined pretty much as soon as I could. As soon as I could, I was would have been about 17 and a half at the time, so ancient history nowadays. But so I joined, went through as a probationary constable, working my way up through the constable through the ranks. And I have to say, out of all the employment opportunities that I was offered and received when I was younger, the SAPF was definitely one of the ones that I look back on with a sort of a gleam in my eye. The work that these guys do here is absolutely fundamental to keeping the citizens of Los Santos safe, and I would thoroughly wholeheartedly endorse the work that they do. Yeah.
Some might say that having a prior career in law enforcement could make you a bit biased towards them in future cases and legislation and stuff like that. How can you reassure those members of the public that you're voting that you will be served the court in their interest as well?
Yeah, well, that's actually a very good point. I'm glad you brought that up. I can absolutely assure the community of Los Santos that I hold absolutely no favoritism to my former brothers in blue. In fact, the thin blue wall of silence, obviously a code that has kept numerous police atrocities and, let's say, misgivings and misdeeds from reaching the light of day, is certainly not a fundamental outlook that I believe is core to my person. I am absolutely and 100% for openness and transparency at all levels of government, which is obviously the reason why I'm conducting this interview today.
That's yep, understood. Let's switch gears a little bit and get away from your past and move to the future. What is your vision for the courts within San Andreas?
My vision for the courts, good question. I would have to say that my number one goal, moving up and into the judicial arm of the San Andreas court system, would be restoring public confidence in their courts. That we hear all cases equally, that everyone is innocent until proven guilty, that the due process of law and justice shall always prevail, and that we will always look at anyone equally when they come through our doors, no matter what.
Excellent. What can the public expect? Excellent. So, what can the public expect from you as a sitting magistrate? Can they expect someone that's firm but fair? Can they expect someone that's reasonable and listens to their concerns? What can they expect from you if you're sitting in front of them on their matter?
Well, they can definitely expect that I'm going to be a stickler for the details. If you show up to your court attendance and you're dressed sloppily or have, let's say, a liberal recollection of the events that we're talking about on the matter, you can certainly guarantee that that's not going to get you in my good books. However, if you present your case clearly, concisely, and with
User left
respect,
your
you
channel.
can absolutely guarantee that we'll talk to each other as equals.
Wonderful, wonderful. What's your personal goals within the courts of San Andreas? Where are you looking to take your career?
You know, that's not something I've given a whole lot of thought. I've been working so hard to get to this arm of government. I never really, I guess, gave much thought to where I'd go when I got there. I suppose I'll put in my hours just as I did when I was a young constable, and whatever doors may open up for me, I'll choose whether or not to open them and push forward my career then and there.
Fair enough, fair enough. There are concerns among certain communities within Los Santos that police get too much power nowadays, and that the courts just seem to give them whatever warrants or requests they have. What can you say to those members of the community?
I can assure that the members of the community that any warrants, court orders that personally signed by myself have always been given the once over and been given a fair go. I'm not one to just sign those sorts of things willy nilly, and the police are definitely going to have to tighten up on some of their paperwork and reporting if they want to get what they want out of the court system from here on out.
How will you approach criminal matters? I know there's some sort of confusion about how the criminal matters should be handled. Uh, would the burden be on the accused or on the prosecutor? There seems to be some sort of
Well,
lack of consistency on the courts at the moment. How would you address those sort of concerns people have?
Well, this lack of consistency gives me grave concern. Of course, the burden of proof when engaging in criminal trial is always on the prosecution. A person is always innocent until proven guilty, and it'll be on the prosecution, whether that be the state or any individual officer in an ongoing matter, even with civil cases, that they must prove beyond a reasonable doubt and with overwhelming evidence that the defendant is guilty of the crime that has been committed. There will be no favoritism in my court, and if the prosecution cannot present a strong case, they can wholeheartedly expect that case to be in the trash bin where it belongs.
How do you hope the courts of San Andreas will contribute to the local communities within Los Santos? There are areas with high crime, particularly in South and East Los Santos. How do you hope that your judgments will contribute to improving it in local areas like that?
Well, I've always believed in a doctrine of restorative justice and not punitive, which is to say that I don't just dole out punishments for the sake of punishments. I believe that if someone is found guilty of a crime, we should focus on rehabilitation rather than simply incarceration. The system that we've got going in many states all over the Commonwealth is, in my opinion, completely bar backwards, as they say, focusing on just putting offenders away, out of sight, out of mind. However, in the long term, I think we'll find that this is not going to be a useful strategy. Over 80% of people who are incarcerated end up reoffending. It'll be my goal to get that down however I can.
You mentioned that there is some concerns with some people that there's a general opinion that among some people that punishment is we should just lock someone in jail and throw the key away. What do you have to say to those sort of people about your method? Are you guaranteeing results, or what can you tell them to reassure them that this is the approach to take?
Well, I can tell them that my philosophy and that my overall mannerisms when I'm in the court, when it comes to doling out punishments and justice, is based off decades of brand new research surrounding punitive and restorative justice, and that the old ways of simply locking away our problems until they come out and reoffend again and breaking that vicious cycle is going to be something that I very much focus on. Ideally, if I had my way, someone who does offend and is found guilty is sentenced to whatever sentence is applicable, and then ideally that they would come out of the justice system reformed and never to offend again. Unfortunately, this is not the case, and clearly something in our system is broken, and I believe that that thing is punishments that are far too harsh and just do not fit the crime.
Oh, thank you, Magistrate Walker. Just before we don't want to end on a somber note, so I'm going to ask you one more question. What do you have to say to the residents of San Andreas? What's your promise to them as their newly appointed magistrate?
My promise to all the residents of San Andreas, whether they be better off or poor, a member of law enforcement or a member of the civilian populace, is that I'm looking to restore faith, trust and transparency within the courts of San Andreas, so that whatever we do, any decision that we make, you guys can have a look at it and let us know if you think it's fair. Because at the end of the day, we are there to serve the people, not the other way around.
Well, is there anything else you'd like to say to anything you'd like to mention before we bring this interview to a close?
No, I don't think so. I think we were pretty thorough there. I'd just like to thank the citizens of Los Santos and, of course, the courts of Los Santos for appointing me in this position and giving me the trust that I will push us forward into a brighter future.
All right, thank you, Magistrate Walker. We look forward to seeing what you bring to the state of San Andreas.